joyfully. Steve is working today, so I wanted to make this video by myself because it is Autism Acceptance Month for the month of April. That's a national awareness, recognition of autistic people on the spectrum. We have gotten some new subscribers. Thank you for those of you who are subscribing. Also, if you could please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. And hit the notification button. We basically have one video every Saturday. We have found that it is extremely time consuming to make these videos. Although we do love it, we have numerous hobbies. Steve is still working. So we make about one video a week now, and it's typically on Saturdays. Sometimes it'll be delayed. Last week with the holiday, it was delayed until Wednesday. Here we go. There is such a wealth of information about autism out there. A lot of it is not accurate. A lot of it is. They are still learning, testing and assessing and finding out. There's so much that we do not know about autism. But the CDC, that's the Centers for Disease Control, right here in Atlanta, had a new report in April of this year that they found that 1 in 31 children are now being diagnosed as being on the spectrum. This is shocking. The rates have been going up so tremendously that nobody knows why, and everybody's curious. I went back to school 15 years ago to become a certified teacher, and I also got certified in special ed. At that time, I believe the numbers were 1 in 150 were on the spectrum. In 2013, they took out the category Asperger's, which was a high, very, very high achieving autistic people, and they lumped everything as a spectrum. I'm going to show you the circle or spectrum of categories. I do have some notes written down, and I will be looking down periodically. Most of this will come from my own personal experience and memory. I have known quite a few people on the spectrum, have worked with them as a special ed teacher, also in our neighborhood, family, wherever. I have known a lot of people through my work. Steve's worked with them as well. He switched locations, and his new location does not have as many people on the spectrum. His previous one had quite a few employees, and they would have life coaches to help them navigate their struggles, such as communicating when they had an issue at work. There's a lot of miscommunications among people on the spectrum. That is a generalization. It depends what you are strong or weak in. I'm going to tell you the 12 categories as you see in this diagram. I'm going to start at the top. It's about a yellowish, brownish, orangish color, and it is called sensory processing. To be on the spectrum, you could have one of these or multiple one of these, or you could be strong in some or weak in some. So the sensory processing is quite common. Sensory processing can include things such as visual, such as lights. Bright lights might bother people on the spectrum, or loud noises, or a lot of them have taste or sensory issues with food. So they often have a limited diet, which leads to some more health issues and GI issues. So sensory issues is a big one. Going to the right around the wheel or the circle is emotional regulation. That is because they do, and I'm going to talk about things that may come up in the future as well, because they may lack or struggle with communication. They could possibly get frustrated and have problems with their emotions as they find it challenging to speak to other people. So that goes into the next one, social skills. They may have fewer friends as they don't know, they don't understand what was said, or they may take things literally. So if there's a joke or something or inferencing, they may struggle with what message was being conveyed. The next one is speech. That is, they may struggle with talking and may need speech from a speech pathologist. Another thing is they could be talking fine as a baby up until 18 months and could lose their speech. This is a red flag for autism. If they were speaking and lost all of their speech at 18 months, that could be a sign that they are on the spectrum. And they don't know why. Some people, again, speculate it's tied to vaccines, but that has been proven that it is not tied to vaccines. Okay, stimming. Stimming is because they could have high anxieties from these frustrations. Stimming is a way of relaxing or reducing those anxieties. It could be things like flapping when they take their hands and flap them back and forth. It could be head banging. It could be any number of things, just anything that is used to calm them down or relax them. The next one is nonverbal communication. There's no explanation here, but I believe that means that they do not understand body language. Although again, some people might. It depends where they are on the spectrum, but they may misinterpret what somebody's body language is telling, or they could be more into body language because they don't understand the verbal language and they follow body language. So it can be confusing because the saying is, if you've known one person on the spectrum, you've known one person on the spectrum. Everyone is unique, very unique, and has different strengths and weaknesses. The next one is depression. Of course, that would be a natural as they struggle that, and they may not have friends, struggle with communication, they could easily get depressed. The next one is they often have a need for routine. They get anxious or depressed outside their routine. They don't understand why things are different. Often when I worked in special ed, they would have a schedule of the time and when they're going to go to an activity posted on their desk with Velcro, so the student who was on the spectrum can always look at that schedule. Now, that's assuming they could tell time. Many people today can't tell time with the analog clocks, and some teachers would bring in digital clocks, but the majority did not. So I don't know, because I've seen those schedules as young as in kindergarten, how those children would know the time. The next one is meltdowns. Of course, if you have all this frustration, anxieties, you would have a meltdown, which people perceive in maybe in a grocery store. If they see a child having an autistic meltdown, they may see it as a temper tantrum. It's a more active temper tantrum, which is the result of all the stimuli. Some kids, you see a lot of kids today in stores wearing headphones because they can't deal with the noise, or perhaps maybe sunglasses help with the lighting. And I've noticed some stores, several stores, have posted a schedule for people on the spectrum to shop. It might be 8 to 9 in the morning where they say they play the music lower and they have the lights dimmer. I myself have noticed movies have gotten louder. I know there's a greater hearing loss today among all ages of people, but when we go to a movie, it's almost painful at how loud they play movies today. I just think, is that really necessary? I don't think they were that loud years ago, but again, it has been proven there is a greater hearing loss among all ages today with earbuds, earpods, whatever those things you put in your ears. I don't do that because I know that they cause hearing loss. Okay, the next one is anxiety. That goes along with depression. And then the next category is executive functions. That's things such as planning. They may not be able to handle 3 steps. If you say, go upstairs, get your red jacket and your book, that may be beyond their abilities. Just going upstairs may be one thing. Maybe when they're upstairs, you'd have to say, now get your red jacket and your book. So executive function goes to planning and just organizing of life skills. Next one is motor skills coordination. I know that in this book, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, one question was, can you kick a ball at, I don't know, I think it was 2 years age. So there are things to look for in your motor skills and coordination that the child is delayed. This book is Milestone Moments. I got this from the CDC for free. At the time, you could order this as well as books for a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, which are stories which incorporate milestones into the story. Now, this is great because it tells you what your baby should be doing up to 5, and there's places to put checks if your baby or child is doing that, and if they're not, then you talk to the child's pediatrician who may refer them for an assessment for autism or ADHD. ADHD it's not in the news as much, but it has blown up to, I think, 11%, which is 1 in 9 children are diagnosed with ADHD, and they typically are placed on medication. with autism, often they're not on medication perhaps for the autism, but if they have anxiety or depression, they might be treating those comorbidities. And comorbidities are things that go along with a condition. And I'll talk about some more comorbidities future with people on the spectrum. So this book, go ahead and look at the cdc.gov and see if it's still available with all the cutbacks and the staff cutbacks. I'm not sure if it is or not. But I had ordered a bunch of these, and whenever I met a new mom, I would pass this on along with the stories. And they always appreciated it because most of them were not aware of these books. Although you can probably go online and find, you could probably find the milestones. For example, it says 2 months, child's height and weight. Who did you share your child's milestone checklist with? Is screening needed? So this is just an outstanding resource for all new parents to help them know if their child is developing at the typical rate. And I wouldn't be concerned if it's just one thing, but if you see a pattern of numerous things that are not at the age appropriate time, such as the speech or the kicking. Also, a big one is answering to their own name if they don't respond to their own name. Those are big concerns. As I said, it's 1 in 31 are on the spectrum. It is a neurodevelopmental disability, which I don't like the word disability because many of the people are not necessarily disabled. It is a different way of perceiving the world. It is 3.4 times more prevalent in boys than girls. Personally, I believe, I'm going to give a lot of my own opinions here. I believe that, and this actually is fact, girls are underdiagnosed. Girls present differently than boys. And just like in the medical field, our medical conditions present differently, such as heart attacks have different symptoms for women than men. So I believe the 1 in 31 figure is grossly understated. It could be as high as the 1 in 9 for ADHD people, or I believe a lot of the children who are diagnosed with ADHD are actually on the spectrum and they have been misdiagnosed, especially if they are girls. I personally have known of quite a few students who I feel were probably on the spectrum who were diagnosed with ADHD. Girls tend to mask, which means they blend in. They look around and see what's acceptable and they mimic other people. So they are not, and also another thing they do is they're quiet. They're quiet. They may sit in the corner and not say a word, and then the teacher loves that. When you have 30 students, you love those quiet kids in the corner. So they are not recognized as being on the spectrum. They are loved for not talking and not disrupting, whereas the boys could perhaps be louder, boisterous, more shoving or getting in more altercations. That could be why they are recognized, or they could be more even more quiet than the girls. Girls could, just a generalization, which is a sexist stereotype, girls tend to be more obedient, rule followers, do what's expected, whereas boys tend to do more what they want to do. That's just what I've observed in the years, that girls tend to go above and board. And then even with, okay, I'll give a little bit of my history. After I got certified, I could not get a permanent position. I substitute taught in 30 different schools in 4 different districts. I did multiple long-term subs and day-to-day. I worked in special ed classes as the main teacher or as the assistant teacher or as a co-teacher. So working in 30 different schools, I feel like that experience was better than being in one class for 20 years or one different kids, of course, every year. But going to 30 different schools, I got to see how all the schools dealt with their special ed, and most of them violated the law, because it is a law that they have to document the IP goals, because basically it is impossible. It is impossible. I was in one class. I have to say this was my most challenging. I was in one class. It was 10 to 12 kindergartners. It was like SDD, significantly developmentally delayed. It was autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and each child had 10 to 12 goals. Okay, I believe I had 12 kids, because I remember thinking I had 144 goals to document. You were supposed to have 2 work samples for each goal every week. So if there's 144 goals in a week. That's 288 samples. That's a work sample. There were things like we'll cut horizontally for 2 or 3 inches. They will cut vertically for 2 or 3 inches. And each child had a different goal. One cut vertically, one cut horizontally. To come up with lesson plans that covered all the kids' goals was pretty impossible. I mean, some of the children had goals such as walking up and down the steps, which the only steps were at recess. And I didn't have help at recess. My parapro got a break at recess. So I had to take 12 kids, some who struggled with walking, some in diapers, out to recess by myself and help the children who couldn't go down steps not fall down those steps. I tell you, that couldn't be more stressful. That's why special ed teachers don't last long. That's impossible. There should have been 2 or 3 parapros. I had one, and I was forced to give her a break during recess. That will go down in history as my most challenging position ever. So yes, if you have a child with special needs and they're in a class, be nice to that teacher. Be nice, because I saw I saw many teachers, not even special ed teachers, but regular teachers, addicted to pain pills and alcoholics because of the tremendous stress in schools today. And as I've said numerous times, you could watch a number of videos on here talking about teachers. But that's getting off the point. We're talking about autism, talking about autistic and characteristics. Okay, so as I said, boys are right now more diagnosed. However, we don't know if that's accurate. They also said that there are more Asians, Hispanics, American Indian, African American who are diagnosed more often than white children are. Only slightly less than 40% are considered severe, and those are the children who RFK Jr. was referring to, the ones who may wear diapers, may not date, may not be verbal. There's 40%, less than 40%, according to the CDC.gov, who are severe. That means 60% are well functioning. And again, there's so many out there who are undiagnosed, who are blending into society, who are functioning great, who these numbers would just really explode if they diagnosed everyone. So again, this is my opinion on why the numbers are going up so rapidly. And well, not just my opinion, many people have stated this. Many organizations have stated that they believe it's better diagnosis. It takes a lot of money to diagnose, a lot of time, money, effort. And in the poor states, as you'll see, the states that have the highest diagnoses are the ones who have the most money. California and New Jersey, I believe, have the highest diagnoses, because if you don't assess, you're not going to diagnose. So in the poor states like Alabama, Mississippi, I'm not sure which states officially have the lowest. I'll put that on the screen, but I'm sure it will be Alabama, Mississippi, West Virginia. The states with the least amount of money will have the lowest diagnoses because they don't want to look for it. They don't have the money to look for it. And I know, working in special ed, that a lot of schools discouraged kids from being identified and assessed. It is a lengthy process. It's costly to have parapros, to have the teachers, have so many IEP, that's individual education plan meetings. It's typically, I believe, every 3 years, but a parent can call one at any point, or a teacher can call one to adjust it. To have those meetings, you have to get a sub to cover the class. And a lot of parents got to the point of bringing in lawyers. The stress is amazing. The tensions are high. So, if you have less people diagnosed, you have less of all that going on. Okay. The median age of diagnosis is 47 months. That's through the whole United States. The low end, where the state that diagnoses the most, I believe California, is 36 months, and the high is 69.5 months, which I forget what state that was because I didn't write it down. Okay, some of the other health conditions, the comorbidities, I've talked about a few, but people on the spectrum could have high rates of epilepsy, asthma, GI, ADHD, autoimmune, OCD, headaches, and more. So in addition to having autism, you have other issues that are also costly. And another one I learned of recently is sleep disorders, including sleep apnea. I don't know why that would be, but they found that not that everybody who has sleep apnea has autism, and not that everybody who has autism has sleep apnea, but if you know somebody who is on the spectrum, you might want to get them checked out for sleep apnea, as they have a higher rate of having sleep apnea, which is a very serious condition. I'm gonna talk about some famous people who are on the spectrum. And in our last video, where we made a book for our grandson, we talked about thinking outside the box and how great it is to think outside the box, how we wouldn't have all these things in our world if we didn't have this out of the box thinking. So these people, a lot of them are scientists and inventors. Includes Daryl Hannah, she's an actress. Temple Grandin, she is probably one of the most widely known older person. She's 77 years old, grew up in Boston. She has a book out, and there's a children's book, Who is Temple Grandin? That's a great book to read. She invented some things in the farming community, and she's lucky to live in Boston because she got diagnosed at 4 and got help, and really became quite popular. She went pretty high in her education, and her mother was interviewed and said that she did a lot better. When she became well known, she actually did better in doing interviews and speaking. She actually got more outgoing. So what is needed in this community is encouragement, awareness, acceptance, being given jobs, being allowed to speak, not being shut away where you do regress and get more anxious, depressed, lose your social skills. People on the spectrum really need to be encouraged to do well in life. So that is the level of support. There's levels 1, 2, 3, or 4, and it's according to what level of support you do need. Now let me go on with the other people on the list. Include Albert Einstein, which they didn't know for sure because they didn't really recognize autism when he was around. Elon Musk, which I read he's self-assessed. I'm not sure if he's self-assessed or not. I've seen different things. Like we said, there's a lot of different information on the internet, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. But he admits himself he's on the spectrum. See, who else? Nikola Tesla, he's the famous scientist. Charles Darwin, famous scientist. Sir Isaac Newton, lots of scientists. Oh, and also Emily Dickinson, a famous author. So scientists, authors, inventors, actresses, Dan Aykroyd, actor. So if we didn't have these people, we wouldn't have all these wonderful things in our life. If we didn't have these people who thought outside the box, we wouldn't have the inventions we have. We wouldn't have the books, the creative things that we have. So being on the spectrum is a unique way of thinking, and really we should thank the people who invented the cell phones and the inventions that we use. Supposedly Jerry Seinfeld is self-diagnosed. There's controversy there whether he is or not. People don't believe if you're self-diagnosed that you really are on the spectrum, that you have to go through the lengthy assessment, which the assessment itself is typically, if it's a child, they take a questionnaire for giving to the parents, the teachers, and maybe therapists who determine if that child's on the spectrum. If you're an adult, it's a lot harder because the parents may not be around, or you may not have the memory. The main milestones, such as walking, talking, toilet training, are the things. And eye contact, not giving eye contact, not responding to your name, being clumsy or not having that motor coordination, not being able to write. Other things that I've heard of is that they could have a good strength in one area and weak in the other. They could be strong in words or reading, or strong in math and weak in reading. They usually have... Now, this is what I've read through the years, so I don't have sources for this. Hyperfocus, if they have an interest, they will talk to you for hours nonstop about that interest. If they are not interested in the topic, they won't want to talk at all. So if you find what they're interested in, they will talk your ear off. Now, some shows that we've watched are The Good Doctor with, I think it's Freddie Moore. Excellent show. He was a surgeon. He's not the actor who portrayed him is not on the spectrum. But then there was a lawyer show, and I don't remember the name of that was an outstanding show. But the last one we've been watching is Love on the Spectrum, which is, they followed so many people in dating, and it was a little bit awkward, and which dating is awkward for everybody, right? These people, they had to be verbal enough to be on the show. And again, if you're not verbal, doesn't mean that you don't have the higher IQ or that you're not functioning. It's just that a lot of people may not be as verbal. So they had to have, if a lot of people said in comments that it seemed like they had to be a certain level of wealth to be in the show. I mean, they weren't, if you were poor, you probably weren't getting the services. The child did not get the services, and then they wouldn't be as accomplished as these kids are. These kids all had tremendous support, mainly in their moms. If you see, the moms are the ones who have to be their advocate and get the help for them, and also promote them to get the jobs they got and to help them date. Moms do so much. The t-shirt I'm wearing today, Be Kind. This is a group where a girl, now she's a woman, she's about 24, Jordan. She is on the spectrum. I don't know her level, but her mom, there's her stories on, I think, TikTok or Instagram. It's Jordan's summer shirt. Her mom got tired of hearing what she couldn't do, so one year she started a shirt business for her, making t-shirts, and it just blew up because everybody wanted to support it. And that's what she does for a full-time job now. She packages these shirts. They're all different. You could order. This is the spring one, Be Kind. I love my butterflies. Our dog Sammy is a papillon, which is butterfly in French. Also because Dolly Parton loves butterflies and she's my role model, and butterflies are just a sign of change, embracing change. So this is the spring one. We've got, Steve and I have ordered many just to support her because it's such a good thing, and to support people on the spectrum in general because they deserve our respect, and they don't deserve to get the bullying and disrespect that they've gotten through the years. As I've said, now in the news is the RFK Jr.'s report, which everybody's been talking about, that I think, I don't know if I misinterpreted or if a lot of people did, but he implied that all people on the spectrum can't go to the bathroom, can't date, can't hold a job, don't pay taxes. I don't know. Yes, maybe up to 40% of them do that because those are the severe ones. But those other 60% do have jobs, do go on dates, as we see on Love on the Spectrum. And James on that show, he's great. He responded to it. I don't know what he does for a living, but he lives in Boston. He has a girlfriend now, and he got help from 4th grade on, and he is very verbal, talks nonstop. So he responded, and then Danny in Los Angeles responded. She has her own business. She is very successful as well. A lot of people were insulted by that. Some people responded that it is true that a lot of these people, he said they break up the family. It is tremendous stress, no matter what level they are. I know from all the kids I've worked with that it can be tremendous stress, especially if they're nonverbal or low level communicating and you don't know what they want, or if they're sick. I know that Steve and I just learned that one of our neighbors just died of a sudden heart attack at 58. She's totally fit, athletic. She has a severely autistic son who's late 20s, who she's been his caregiver. I mean, I remember talking to her during COVID. She was very frustrated. All of his services were canceled, and I think she felt pretty overwhelmed. I remember I think she asked me to help him at that time, and I don't really remember the details, and I think I probably said I would, but I told her I wasn't really trained with working with severe autistic. Plus, he was huge. So if they get violent or something, I don't remember. I don't know if he was violent, but he was probably, 300 pounds, 250. He's a big guy, probably 6 feet tall, and between 250 and 300. And so anyway, that was 5 years ago. That was our last neighborhood. She was very frustrated. We just learned she got up one Monday morning and just collapsed and died at home. And I have to think maybe it was the tremendous stress of taking care of him. And could be that she wasn't taking care of herself because it is 24/7. She probably wasn't going to the doctor herself. She probably wasn't getting her physicals. She probably wasn't getting everything checked out for herself. So not just the stress of taking care of him, but she was ignoring herself, as most mothers do. Most mothers put their children first. And I've said in a previous video that caregivers do often die first, such as in the sad story of Gene Hackman and his wife. It's Gene Hackman who had severe dementia. Betsy, his wife, died first. I said caretakers often do die first from that tremendous stress. So now the father is his caretaker and also working his full-time job. So I'm sure that's extremely challenging. We also know someone in our neighborhood now who has a severe, well, I don't know if it's severe. She's lower level autistic. She goes to a program each day, all day, where they make crafts and things. I think they sell them. I didn't actually feel like I could ask her, do you have to pay? Does tax money pay? I think she probably has to pay to put her in this program all day. That's an issue that's been real big when these kids reach 18. What's going to happen to them if they are on the severe end? Where are they going to go? Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to pay? And as our numbers are increasing greatly, that's a big concern for all of us. We all know someone on the spectrum. I know when I went back to school 15 years ago, we took several special ed classes, and that was everyone. Even if you don't want to be certified in special ed, I got multiple certifications. And I remember saying that I didn't even know most of the neighbors. We had 220 houses, and off the top of my head, I could name 10 kids on the spectrum 15 years ago. And I didn't know most of the people who lived in there. I just had heard of them. You know, some of them had special signs for like handicapped. They had special buses picking them up for school. Yeah, those are most of the more severe. Then, of course, there's all the ones who are the high achievers. When I had somebody talk to me once about Georgia Tech. She had graduated Georgia Tech, and she said, I think most of Georgia Tech is on the spectrum. And I was like, whoa, I thought that was kind of insulting. But now I see what she's saying. She's saying they were the high achievers. You had to be very, very bright to get into Georgia Tech. So there's all those people that you don't know about or who were never diagnosed. The ones who were diagnosed are the severe ones, the nonverbal ones, the ones who it was obvious that they were on the spectrum. So yes, those numbers 1 in 31 are, like I said, could be one in 9, like ADHD. I mean, and that could be a good thing. These are our inventors. If they get the help they need, like Temple Grandin, they can go very far. That's what James on Love on the Spectrum, he said he got the help he needed and went very far. Danny got the help she needed. Abby is a wonderful singer in that show. She's getting the help from her mom. All these moms who are very involved. Connor, who's in the Atlanta area. All these moms just do so much. They are getting their children's needs met. So it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing that we need to be aware, accept, embrace, and move on. I mean, it's better to know, right? It's better to know who's on the spectrum than not, right? So if you found this video informative or enjoyed it, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up and hit the notification button. And I'm sure Steve will be back next time. And Sammy's often in our video. She is napping. It's a rainy day here, and she's a little tired. And surprised she's not downstairs barking, because she always wants to be up here. Sierra, she's our senior border collie who never wants to be in a picture or on video. I just walked both of them separately. I can't walk them together. Sierra at 14 is so strong. She can pull me anywhere. I have to really watch her crossing streets, because she can pull me right into the, she's so powerful. She'll pull me into the street in front of a car. I can't believe at 14 how strong she is, because we do try to walk her. I try to walk her every day. Steve's always at work. And then Sammy, I try to walk her as well. Sammy's pretty strong too. Steve selected this Papillon because her agility reminded him of the agility of the Border Collie. So you can check out those other videos, and we have no idea what we're talking about next. We watch the news and we just see what's going on and topics that happen. Spring hiking, trying to hike more, and Mother's Day is coming up, and you see what I just said, what mothers do for their kids who needed extra support. Every mother does so much. Give your mother a hug and a kiss and a card, and spend the day with her, play a game, whatever she wants to do. My love language, there's a book called The 5 Love Languages. Mine is time. I would love for my kids to just come over and play a game with me. Just talk to me. Just ask me, how are you doing? How are you doing? Are you okay? What's going on? Talking, playing a game. I don't want diamonds, jewelry, expensive gifts. I just want time. That's my love language, and I bet you most mothers feel the same way. So if you're still fortunate to have your mother, I lost my mother when I was 33. I still miss her every day. Steve had his mother quite a bit longer. She lived, let's see, she was older when she had him. She was 39, and he had her still had a mother in his 40s. So those of you who are fortunate to have a mother, again, be sure and talk to her on Mother's Day. Until I see you again, take it easy.